Hi, this is a conversation with Mina Merkel, international consultant on education. And Mina, how has the paradigm of the classroom changed recently? Let's say, what about the roles of teachers and students?
Very good question. Back when education really came into play was the 1800s, and the education system was like a triangle. And today, the system is more like a circle. So in the olden days, what we had was there was a teacher that was in the front of the room, and all of the students were looking at the teacher. It was very much a tell. And what's happened now is it's more of an ask, and the teacher is becoming more of a facilitator of learning. And the students are in a circle versus in a triangle listening to somebody tell them something in the front. So the paradigm has switched from this triangle to the circle.
In this context, do you prefer the words teacher, professor, facilitator?
Oh, it's a good question, really good question. Because when I think about education, I think there's a role for a time for a teacher to tell. And so there's a role for teaching. And then I think when I think about professor, I think of somebody that's a bit more wise, more of a coach or a mentor. And when I think about a facilitator, it's a facilitator of learning, and that sort of encompasses all of those things that are occurring. So if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick the facilitator. I think that what we're doing is creating an environment for students to be self-motivated.
And speaking of environment, what is a fertile environment for learning?
Oh my goodness, well look at this place. Guatemala is probably one of the most fertile places I've ever been. I've worked with 55 different countries all over the world. And what I've noticed at UFM is the ability for you to take new ideas and just run with them. You are risk takers. You have gotten the ability to say, let's question the status quo, and let's go beyond what we think is the normal paradigm and try something new and different. So when I think about fertile ground, I think about UFM.
And all these things considered, is it possible to motivate students to learn?
Oh my goodness. Well, all motivation is self-motivation. So therefore, we cannot motivate the student to do anything. It's within their values, within their system, their beliefs, their ethics. All we can do is create an environment for them to be self-motivated. So the question for teachers and professors and deans is, how do we create this new environment?
Again, with the environment, who owns what happens in the environment?
So there is a 100% responsibility for both the teacher and the student. So they both own it.
How does the process of learning is like a path through the forest, as you have mentioned before in other occasions?
Okay, so somebody's been telling you about my recent experience here in Guatemala. When I first arrived, I was invited on a walk through the forest. And it became apparent to me that that's really what's going on in education today. That as teachers and professors, we are walking in the forest and we are coming to a fork, and we need to be ready to go either way. So that we might take the high road, we might take the low road. But our students are going to be the choosers of this. They are going to be the ones that tell us what they need, and we must be prepared.
And in the classroom, we tend to value the student who participates actively. But what about the process of reflection, which looks like it's no participation?
Yes, okay. So we've been doing a lot of talking over the last couple of days about this, that there are people that are introspective, theorists or reflectors as far as learning styles are concerned. And then there's those activists or those pragmatists that are more extroverted that we seem to like because they're talking a lot. But what we've found when I've done a lot of research around the world with CEOs is the majority of people that find themselves in top leadership positions are actually those that are more introspective. That those that aren't speaking are actually listening. So as professors and teachers, we must take advantage of this moment and realize that we have all of the people in the room, and we must do things for everybody that's in the room. We must create activities, we must cater to each of these individuals with their different learning styles, and that all of us have all of this, but we have a dominant style that will come out during the course of a lecture or a time when we're in class.
Does that mean, in a way, to be empathetic with the students?
Very much so. Empathetic is probably the key word. This ability to be genuine and to be empathetic and understanding that we're all coming from it from different angles. We have our own dominant style, and they have their own dominant style. We've been taught in a certain way that we like. We teach in a certain way that we like. But there's somebody that needs something different in the room, and we must be aware of it and allow for that to occur, and therefore open up the intergenius in each of the people that are there.
From the point of view of the teacher, Mina, what is the relationship between content knowledge and the process of sharing, discovering, and creating knowledge?
Well, one of my favorite things to talk about is that the quality of the content has got to be good. But the engagement, which is talking about the process, how do we go about getting the students engaged, those two things together create the transformation of a life, of a person. And so you can't just think about the content anymore. You must think about the process. And that engagement of each and every one of those different individuals to be able to transform a life so that these people can be all that they could possibly be.
Finally, individuals and groups are different. And also generations of students are very different. People have different learning styles. Is it possible for a teacher to cater to all?
Well, this is very interesting and one that we've been talking a lot about in the most recent days. And I think part of it is, what do we do with this limited attention span? You know, some call it the millennial or the Generation Z Twitter problem. This is a conundrum for us. So how do we do something that will excite them within 12 minutes before we lose them? And how do we use technology in the classroom rather than fight it? So getting the students involved with using their phones in the classroom is one of the ways to do it. Just knowing that they have more information at the tip of their fingers than we ever did. And so the problem and the challenge for professors now is really about, they've got the information, but they've got to make the connections. They've got to be able to analyze and come through with some conclusions, and that's where we can help.
Mina, have you had a favorite class experience among many?
While I've been here?
Oh, yes.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I've found to be the most exciting thing is working with your deans and with the professors. And now many of the teachers' assistants are coming through my class on facilitation and collaboration. And it's been so exciting to see everybody excited about new techniques that they can use. So I would say my time here has been the most wonderful. So thank you for having me.
And have you ever been disappointed in a class experience?
Oh, sure. I mean, the wonderful thing about when you are working with large groups, you never know quite where it's going to go. And so when a disappointment occurs, it's giving you a lot of information. So with me, it's creating an event so that somebody could have an aha moment. And if it falls flat, that's information for me as well. So it's as valuable, if not more valuable, than when something goes well.
Mina, thank you for sharing with us this information and experiences. And thank you too.